Wayne State started out 14-0, gave up the lead, and then it was over.
I mean, they climbed the hill after that 7-point deficit. Again, I don't want to beat this point to the ground, but I think it was so critical for them to get that touchdown right before halftime, because it's a difference between you played so well and you go in and you, wait a minute, we're losing by 7 points. You go in and you're tied. You can tell your defense, hey, you did a great job, and we're just going to continue that same momentum in the second half.
We talked about that hot start. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from the first half. First of all, you're going to see Manny Mendoza go deep and DJ Zazula find him.
This is one of his better passes of the game. That thing is right where it needs to be, right over the cornerback, right into the hands of Mendoza, and that's the first score of the game, gets Wayne State on the board.
7-0, the Warriors get the ball back. They march it down. They get to the 4-yard line, and Demetrius Stinson takes it in from there. Demetrius Stinson, by the way, 129 yards on 25 carries and a couple of touchdowns.
I mean, this is where the offensive line really started to make some hay. They got some time for Zazula on that first pass, but here creating some running lanes, and I don't think he was touched on that play. And a couple of plays in the game, there were runners who just weren't touched because of the protection on the offensive line.
14-0 at that point, Warriors. And then they ran a quick option to Damian Russell. He got it inside the 5, first down and goal, and Blasioli took it in from there. Blasioli, a nice game himself, 25 carries, 120 yards.
And here's one of my favorite plays of the game, just the option that they had been running, but they run an end around here to Ashton Doolin. He's able to get in on that run for the touchdown, tied it at 14.
He's fast. Blasioli's pretty fast too. He's the guy who got them the big play to get the lead 21-14.
Right, this is their only lead of the game, and this is where you felt like Wayne State might be on its heels and reeling a little bit because the defense had given up those 3 touchdowns in the second quarter.
Trent Broadbeck then gets the game tied up right before halftime, that little underneath sidearm catch, and he's off to the races.
Yeah, and that was just the weaving that Broadbeck did to be able to free himself. And again, psychologically, that's just the critical touchdown in this game because it pulled it even, and it made it an even game going into the second half, where Wayne State was playing coming from behind, I think was critical.
And we talked to Paul Winters right before halftime, and he was upset with how things were going, but at least they had gotten that tie back, and I think you're right. At least they stopped the leakage and got it to an even game and could start out fresh.
And it wasn't performance-based. It was off a couple of penalties that Malone was able to crawl back into that game. But once they cleaned up some of those penalties and got their offense and defense clicking in the third quarter, completely different ball game.
Let's take a look at some second half highlights now. And it's Broadbeck again. Zazula deep.
Yeah, look at the composure and the way where that ball is. It's exactly where you draw it up, just like on the video games. It's right there in the right spot. He's able to get it in turn, and he makes something happen there on the sideline with the I was going to say Bronco Nagurski kind of hurdle play, but he gets by it. And then you see this is the wham play right up the middle.
Romello Brown, 82 yards rushing on 19 carries. I mean, the team just ran well.
Right, and I think, again, that goes back to the offensive line, giving Zazula some time, but also creating some running lanes for the guys.
Now check this one out with the hurdle at the end.
Yeah, he wasn't touched on this play either. Romello Brown, that's his second touchdown. And again, the rushing game gets over 200 yards between the main two, and even later on we're going to see another rushing touchdown by their third running back.
Yeah, but not before Stinson gets his second score of the day. And this is the gut and gone.
Right, this is just piling it on at this point. The offensive line creating some nice gashes up front, and Stinson takes advantage. He doesn't need much room to get through to create a hole for himself, but he did right there, got more than enough, gets into the end zone.
Hey, you know how many carries Deontay Nicholas had?
I'm going to say 1.
That one right there, 27 yards.
27-yard touchdown, his first career touchdown. And again, it's a breakout performance for the offense. And when you're guided by a freshman quarterback, when you have a running game like this, it means he doesn't have to do a lot. Zazula didn't need to do a lot, but he did. And you see the 254 on the passing yards, and Wayne State racking up 521 passing yards. And when you control the ball for as much as they did, the stats on the right side tell you the story of this game. 9 of 13 on third down conversions means they really controlled the flow of this game as well.
254 passing yards. DJ Zazula, 16 for 18. Nobody gets those kind of numbers. True freshmen never do.
Right, and I think you bring up a good question about what do you do at quarterback. I think you can bring Carl Roscoe back slowly. You don't have to rush him because you don't know the condition of that arm. But you don't have to rush them back and say, hey, if they had somehow lost this game and they're 1-2 and maybe the season's in the balance, you feel like you have to rush them back. Now you feel so much more comfortable with Zazula and what he's been able to do that you don't have to. You can say, hey, Carl, we can bring you in for certain plays, a drive here or a drive there. If you're not at 100% yet, we feel very confident where we are with our freshman quarterback.
I say, if nothing else, you know that you don't need to bring him back until he's absolutely 100%
until you're ready.
ready.
Until you're absolutely ready, because there's no pressure. Again, if this was a freshman quarterback that was struggling with learning the playbook and you had to pare down the playbook and you couldn't have him pass very much, only short dink and dunk things, you might have an issue there. I don't think there's much of a controversy because you're going well either way you go.
Two good players, good problem to have. Hey, the Warriors go on the road for a couple of weeks, then they come back here October 10th, homecoming, another night game, and they're playing the Valley. They're playing Grand Valley, and that's the rival. We're going to have it right here on CN900 at 6 o'clock. For my partner, Rod Beard, for our director, Mike Johnson, for all of our hard-working crew, I'm Joe Abramson, reminding you once again the final score, Wayne State 56, Malone 21.